Hello, everyone. Welcome to our conversation tonight about grieving friends and family. This is a live I'm doing with my co-host, Britney Wilder. She should be on here in just a moment for me to add onto our live stream. And tonight we're talking about grieving friends and family. Grieving friends and family. Britney and I are doing a brand new course and support group through the holidays called Healing Heartbreak through the holidays. And so we're going to be doing discussions leading up to the launch of the support group in the course that starts on November 6th. So you want to make sure you click the link in the bio to grab your spot inside of that. That's going to be really, really powerful, really heartwarming, where you're going to be supported through this intro to the holidays for those of you who are experiencing heartbreak from breakups, divorce, loss of a family member, grief. You want to make sure you're in our course and support group. So it's going to be really powerful. And I've never taught a course on grief before, have sworn in the past that I never would. It has been a very like a theme, a really strong theme in my life, guys. And so thank God for one of my master coaches, one of my sister coaches. She's one of my certified master abundant life coaches, Britney Wilder. We've known each other for 10 plus years. Love her to pieces. She is really amazing with this content and with helping people as well. So it's going to be a really great course and support group. And Britney is getting ready to come on now. I just saw her thing come through, except here she comes. Britney. Hello, sweetheart. How are you?
I am good. How are you? You hear me okay?
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit. You're coming across fuzzy on my side. I don't know if you can see it. If it looks like internet's just a little bit glitchy. I don't know if how it looks to the audience. Can somebody let us know if it looks clear on your side?
Okay.
I'm trying.
I see you clear. I don't know if I.
Oh no, you're clear now. You're clear now.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
Hey, love. Welcome, everybody. This is Britney Wilder. I was just doing a short intro and introducing you to the audience as well. That this is certified master abundant life coach and one of my sister coaches, Britney Wilder. We are so excited to be doing this course and support group coming up November 6th. I'm dropping it again. Gave you the details already. But Britney, tell our audience a little more about your background before we jump into this discussion tonight. Britney, you there? I think she froze up, guys. Thank you, Shay. I see your comment. Somebody said glitchy. It's a little fuzzy. It's unclear. I think she froze up. Hold on one second, guys. How do I? Britney's gone. Okay, she's gone. I'll have to wait for her to come back on to request to come in. So yeah, she's having some technical difficulties. Guys, you are not alone. Somebody up here just said grieving is really hard for me. Somebody said I need this. Shay said I love your hair. Thank you, sweetheart. Grief for me, as we're waiting on Britney to come back in on the conversation, is one of those feels like lifelong themes in my life, guys. My sister died when I was 10. She's back. Hold on. Trying to accept. My sister died when I was 10. Britney, you there?
I'm back.
Okay.
Everybody can hear me, see me?
We can hear you and see you.
Okay, I don't know what's going on. My Wi-Fi is good. Bars are clear.
You look clearer right now.
Okay.
You look good right now. Okay, so we're about to introduce. I was just telling them, Britney, that grief, I am no stranger to grief. I'm no stranger to heartbreak, guys. It has been a theme in my life since I was 10 years old when my older sister died in a car accident. She was my only full sibling. She was 18. As most people who follow me know, I buried my mother and my father. I'm what I consider an adult orphan, right? Where my whole family's gone. And then just the other forms of heartbreak in the form of divorce, breakups, business failures, friendships, which we're covering tonight.
Yeah.
Brittany, I'm going to let you kick off tonight. You can give them a little bit of background on you and we'll just jump into the conversation.
Yeah. Well, I'm originally from Washington State. And I've been out here about 10 years, going on to over a little bit of 10 years. And I met Rebecca and at a healing course, one of her first healing courses. And that literally changed my life, you guys. It started my healing. It started just me coming into the person who I am now, and then thinking about taking this journey into becoming a coach, becoming a master coach. I specialize in loss and I specialize in NLP coaching. And I am just excited to be here. You guys, it's been a long journey. Grief has definitely been another common theme in my life as well, from even way back, just losing things that you don't even think about that you're grieving, like losing, your house, being homeless. I was homeless off and on throughout my childhood. So just losing things, literally things that I love, things that I needed, to losing my grandmother, my mother, and my granny all within 2 months of each other in 2015. And then later on, divorcing my husband, dealing with that grief right now. That's actually the season that I'm just recently coming out of. And it's just one thing after the other. I recognize that we are grieving all these things all at once. And sometimes we don't even recognize that we're grieving them all together. And friendships, you guys. Listen, that friendship, grieving a friend who, maybe it's you started going into a new level of life and maybe there's some jealousy there or envy there and they just can't handle it, you guys. And it's a lot of messiness and pettiness and you have to make the choice to let go. And that has been one of the hardest things. And I know that that's why we're talking about that tonight, because there's a different type of intimacy you have with friends. It's like, this is your A1, day one. This is the person that you hang out with, you kick it with all the time. They know about you front to back. You know about them front to back. They know your secrets. They know all the craziness. They know everything. So grieving friends, oh my gosh, it has been something that has been really, really tough for me. And a lot of the things I even wrote a post today about thinking about grieving friends and what that looks like and preparing for tonight. And a lot of the times I lost friends when I was transitioning into these big moments, right? Graduation, my wedding, having a baby, becoming a mom. Like, it's almost like, I remember my godmother told me, before I got married, she said, I want you to pay attention to your friends, pay attention to who's there for you, who's celebrating you, who's genuine when they're celebrating, and pay attention to those who you start to feel, this is some different energy right here. Like, what's going on? What, you're not happy for me and I've been happy for you and everything that you've done and you're not happy for me. Like, something is up here. And so she said that people start to act cuckoo during babies, marriages, new jobs, careers, adventures, traveling. And it's the truth. And I've never ever I never thought about that until like thinking about it right now. Like, it's so real and it's hurtful, and these people can take you out. Your best friends can take that grief, can take you out. Worse than lovers, worse than loved ones, right. Worse than all of it.
So, that's one of the things I was going to say, Brittany, is I think in one of our in our audience, she said that her best friend died last year, and so there's grief and heartbreak with death.
Yes.
And there's also grief and heartbreak with letting people go, with the transitioning in the forms of relationship, forms of connection. We can transition into a different form, right. A different closeness where you're not spending time with someone. You still love them. They're always there, but you're not spending time with them. But I think can be so difficult about friendships is it's not family, right? It's not blood. It's by choice.
Yes.
We have chosen each other, and that feels like even a closer bond because we did choose each other. And for me, when I look back on my friendship heartbreak, I can definitely align it with major shifts in my personal life and professional, right? I lost a friend when I went from being from being married to being divorced. I didn't realize that my single friend liked it that I was married, that when I became single, now there were petty jealousies about men that entered into the friendship that hadn't been there before.
Right.
And I'm trying to figure out this energy. What has changed? The only thing that changed was that now I'm dating.
Yep.
And men are approaching me and talking to me, and it's men that the type of men she liked, but she wasn't getting that attention. And now there's a problem, right?
Yep.
Nothing to do with me, has nothing to do with my love for her, but insecurities, issues, pain, trauma. These are the things that break up our friendships.
Right.
Is what I've seen and experienced.
Yes. Absolutely. That, and it's like, it's this jealousy that they're sometimes not even aware of until it, happens, until that change happens. It's unconscious. They're literally envious or jealous or whatever the case is, and they're acting unconsciously a lot of the time.
And I think what's really hard, Brittany, is that if you have a bit, so I'll speak from my perspective. You guys, our audience, you might have been the jealous girlfriend. Someone in the audience might have been the one breaking off a friendship over something petty or superficial because there was underlying issues, or you felt like someone changed. That's how someone thinks on the other side of this, that Britney and I are describing. They feel like, oh, she got married and she changed, or she didn't invite me, or she, she overlooked me, or I'm not a priority anymore, or she doesn't have time for me, and in reality, there's the subconscious prompting the ego is pushing for those things and creating things that are not there. One of my very best friends after I got married, and she's, falling off as a friend, said, well, I just thought since you were married now, you really didn't want to be best friends anymore. I thought you wanted to be closer to someone else, this other lady who wasn't married either. And I'm like, that's not even logical, right? Like, it's not logical. It's emotional, which is why it gets so conflicted and so messy, because it's not logical.
Right.
I'll say this, and Brittany and I were talking earlier, and I mentioned this in our conversation. I said, when I look back at my friendships that have bit the dust, I can honestly say that hindsight is 20/20, because when I look back, Brittany, it's like, there were signs there. There were signs of the personal issues. There were signs of the relationship issues, the little things that you don't pay attention to, that you let slide, that, later on begin to make sense when the cookie crumbles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And when we're big-hearted people, Rebecca, like me and you, we give the benefit of the doubt. We think, oh, well, maybe she's just having a bad time right now. Maybe this is going on. It'll change.
I see that treated other people like that, but she would never
do me like that. Right. Oh, my gosh. And you think about one of my friends, actually, who I moved out here with, one of my best friends from high school. And when she moved out here after high school, and I told her I would come after a few years, and I didn't, and I put it off, and then eventually I ended up coming out here. And we ended up moving in together. Everything was great at first, and then I started seeing those signs, those red flags. Like, she would get defensive over things, about just simple things, talking about, our household. I would have, family meetings. I'm like, let's have a family meeting about this, cleaning up after ourselves. And she would get really defensive. And I'm like, it's just cleaning up after yourself. Like, what is the problem? But there were different signs. There were things that she liked to do that I didn't like to do. She enjoyed, tons of alcohol. Like, not just, I love to drink. I like to have my wine. Don't get me wrong. But she would drink tons of alcohol. And I was like, I just could not get with that. So there were things that didn't match up anymore as we got older. And I started seeing signs, but I still was like, but that's my A1 day
That's
one.
your
Like we
ride or die.
high school.
Ride or die. What I think, sister friends.
Yes.
It's not like friend. You don't grieve acquaintances, guys. Let's be clear here. Heartbreak doesn't come from grieving acquaintances, associates. Grief and heartbreak comes from people you love dearly. It's the soul ties, the heart binds. Right. It is people you love so much that you never imagined that they wouldn't be in your life.
Right. Yes. Never, ever, ever did I ever think that we would not be cool. You know, like, I mean, this was going to be the godmother to my daughter and everything, you know, and it didn't happen like that. And
especially, Brittany, when you've got like 5 years in, 10, 15, 20 years in.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of the time, I think one of our mistakes also is that we equate time with loyalty.
Right. Yep.
And if loyalty is one of your core values, like you are a very loyal person, you can mistake the time for loyalty.
Yes, absolutely.
And especially if there hasn't been anything to test the loyalty, because what I have found is that it was in crisis. There's always like this crisis point. There's something that happens to where it's magnified. There's an issue or something that comes up that is a crisis moment, a flash point that brings a bunch of something to the surface, or a situation that you can't ignore. That is like, no, wait a minute.
Yep. Yeah.
No.
It's clear. It's clear.
Now, I have made a lot of excuses for you, but this right here is crossing the line. And one of the things that, Brittany, I've also witnessed and experienced myself is having to grieve the realization that you love someone more than they love you.
Yes.
Because I've been on the receiving end of where when somebody walks away just very easily.
Right. Yeah.
It just was way too easy for you to be like done, good, or there's a disagreement, and I was always the one being the bigger person. I was always the one keeping the connection without really realizing I was doing that. But then when I make a stand and say no, I'll wait for her to call me
to be the bigger person.
I'll wait until she's ready to talk.
Yep.
That call never comes. And years later, you just stop waiting for the phone call from the 15 and 10-year friendship. The call never came.
Yes.
Never came.
You cared about that friendship. You cared about that person more than they cared. That's it.
Peyton says, my best friend just walked away with no conversation.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it is kind of like screws with your brain, where it's like,
what?
So the whole time, I just thought this was something more than what it was. Is that what this is? That real?
Can't be real. This can't be real.
Like, was I that far off base of judging what this was? A decade? 15 years?
Years and years pouring into this relationship. Because, you know, I mean, friendships are huge, Rebecca. We talked about that. They're huge. They're like our family. You are my family. I am doing things with you and your family. We're going on family trips. Like, I am involved in your family. You're involved in my family. So that type of breakup and heartbreak is like, you tore me away from my family. Like, you know, I want to check in, but I can't check in because, like, you're not checking in because you don't care. It's just, it's so hurtful.
And if you have healthy boundaries,
Right.
and healthy self-esteem, and you realize I can't be chasing you or trying to get you to love me the way I love you, that this is going to hold more and more pain and heartbreak. And back again to what we talked about today, Brittany, the pain of letting go.
Yeah.
That when you're the person who you don't want to let go, but you have to let go.
Right. Right. Because it's better for you, because you have to choose you at the end of the day. You have to choose you and your well-being and everything that you're about. And that's the hardest part of letting go of somebody else who's no longer good for you, no longer serving you, who's no longer there for you. If they ever were there for you from the beginning, it's like, really?
And I think some of what we're talking about, Brittany, is that sometimes friendships built in certain seasons of our lives are just that. It's just certain seasons. But then we try to pull people along into this next seasons and next seasons and next seasons. And the truth is that friendships evolve, people evolve, and it especially for those of you who are constantly growing and evolving and working on your healing, and just because you love hard, just because you are someone who's loyal and deeply dedicated to those you love, doesn't mean that that's how everybody loves. Right. That's the other thing I had to learn, was that I had one friend, and I eventually had to make peace with that. She just didn't know what to do. She didn't know how to show up for me the way I was showing up for her.
Yeah.
And I had to get to that without even having those conversations with her, but just working it out in my own healing, get to the understanding that she did the best she could do. And it's so easy, I think, to sometimes judge because they're not doing it like you do it, or they don't know how, maybe don't have the emotional intelligence, the emotional self-awareness to be able to navigate and communicate, like effective, mature communication. Yep. We think because people are grown that everybody just knows how to do this stuff.
And they don't.
And they don't.
No. I know for me, what I had to do early on was stop expecting me from other people. I have a big heart. I will ride for you no matter what. If you got me on your team, I am there. I'm showing up 110%. And I had to stop expecting that from other people, because not everybody is like that. Just like you said, Rebecca, not everybody has that. They don't. And it hurts when you try to expect that, where you think that that's exactly what you're going to get back because you gave that 110%.
Exactly. And I think that really, really good-hearted people also, Brittany, want to think that, oh, well, they're going to miss me. They're missing out. I know she misses me. I know, not necessarily. Yeah. Because if they don't have the capacity to even recognize what they were losing, they probably don't have the capacity to recognize what's gone.
Correct. Yep.
And part of, I think the healing process in grief, there's the, when you're going through the anger phase of grieving and going through the process before you get to peace, and you're angry. She'll realize, she'll learn she had a real one, she had a real one, and she's gonna figure it out. She's gonna recognize.
No. I know the other thing for me was recognizing that sometimes that closure doesn't come. Sometimes that ownership doesn't come. Sometimes it doesn't come, and just being okay with that and letting that go and giving that forgiveness. Because I used to be like, well, how come, she didn't come, or how come she didn't apologize for all the things? I had a friend, you guys, she messed up my credit. left that apartment we lived in all messed up my credit for real, didn't pay the bills. And I'm like, but you know my struggle. You know my story. I've been out on my own since 16. My credit was everything. Like, I was a person who was proud for building my credit up by myself. And you took a hit at my credit? Oh no, you need to apologize. Take ownership for what you did. Never got the call, never got any of that.
No.
Never got closure.
Never.
No.
And you have to be, this is why one of the reasons we're doing the course in the support group, guys, is because you can't put your healing in other people's hands.
Yes.
If you're waiting for some moment when they're going to come and give you the words that you think you need to let go and to heal, then your healing is in someone else's hands. You're waiting on something that may never come, which is saying, well, I just won't heal until they do what they're supposed to do. That's giving somebody else the power, you know, and healing is for us. Forgiveness is for us. We have to be willing to do the work to let go of these ties, let go of the wounds so that we can truly live, so we can be healed and happy and invite in new love, new friendships, new connections. You know, we have to let go of the wounds and the pain.
Yes, absolutely, Rebecca. Especially letting go of those things that are no longer serving you to open up to these beautiful relationships that come with that after that, you know, those beautiful friendships, the beautiful tribe you find, the people who are meant to be there. It's like, God, this is what would happen afterwards, but I've been hanging on to so-and-so for so long, trying to get her up to my level, trying to get her to do the things and to heal with me and hang with me and to get all this knowledge and better her life. And you mean to tell me that this whole group over here, this group of wonderful women who are doing the things that I'm doing, who are loving life and living it abundantly and enjoying these moments, are over here after I just let go of so-and-so? Oh, I'm going to let go of so-and-so every time.
Yeah.
Like, it's gotten better. Even as I've gotten older, if I connect with somebody and something is shown, I'm like, oh, that's probably not it. Let me go ahead and let go now, because I know how this can get. I know exactly how this can be. I know how it is to hang on to somebody who's not supposed to be in that next season. And all that happens is that it just keeps intensifying. Things keep happening and it intensifies until God's like, listen, are you going to let them go?
Right.
Oh, you're not? Okay, here we go. Here's another situation. And another one, stack on top. Double down on it. Are you going to let them go?
Exactly. God will keep showing you.
Yes.
And then take it out of your hands. And that's even worse because it's got to be crisis.
Yep.
You know, it hurts even more the longer you hold on. I've been in situations, Brittany, where people have walked away from me, and I've also had to walk away. And neither one of them is any easier than the other. It's just as hard to walk away from someone as it is when someone walks away from you. I feel like it's just hard. It hurt. The love you have in your heart for someone, when you have to finally admit this is no longer equally yoked. We are no longer on the same page. We are no longer connected. We don't see eye to eye. Like, as the one friendship I had was kind of dying a slow death. You know, it was like I would call excited to share about, you know, oh, I booked a trip and I'm going to Ireland and I'm going on this retreat. I'm so excited. You know, it's my 5th time going out of the country this year and I'm so excited. And it's just like crickets, quiet. Or I call, you know, you've been there from the ground up when I was evicted and when I lost everything and my mother died, and you've seen me at the lowest of lows. And as you saw me build businesses and start to hit benchmarks and I'm celebrating, I'm excited. And it's just like this silence, you know, like this quiet. Yeah. And it's like, you know, and it's awkward and she couldn't be happy for me. And even then I was trying to make excuses. Oh, she's just having an off day, or, oh, you know, of course. But in reality, you know, it was already dying a slow death. Yeah. And it, you know, and it's so hard to accept when you love someone so much that it's not what it was. We don't have the things in common. Right. And, you know, Brittany, the other thing, I think we just need to be like really real. I'm gonna be really real with it for a minute. So for those of y'all who are still holding on to people from your party days, and you done matured into your mature season and your healing era, and let me just say, I have literally witnessed like 3 people that have fallen off out of my life in a 10-year window, that were from back in that 10 to 15-year window when I was partying, or when I was throwing parties and I had gotten divorced and I was single, and it was hot girl summers, and we drink, and as long as you drinking, and as long as you smoking, and as long as you sexing, you know, we got everything in common. It's all good, and we roll dogs, and we having a blast, and we putting bottles, but then the minute that you're not there anymore, or you know, God deals with you and you start to transition and remember who you are, or mature and say, you know, I think that I'm ready, I'm going to be settling down here, or I'm going to get married, or I'm going to get married and have children, or whatever the transition season is, you can quickly realize that all you had in common with those friends was that partying or drinking. Or when you left the job and you thought you had some really great friends at the job, but you soon realized all you had in common was the job. Because as soon as you're not there anymore, they ain't calling. They're not inviting you to dinners and lunches anymore. You're not part of the clique anymore.
That's it.
So I think sometimes we can mistake a season for commonality, for compatibility in different seasons, but there's habits we got in common, or there's environment we got in common, but not intrinsic personality traits that we got in common. And we're not like-minded, like-spirited, like calling, like, I don't know how you label it. All I know is I think you can just literally outgrow people.
You can. And once that thing is not in common anymore, you start to see it. We're not kicking it no more. We're not talking on the phone. There's nothing in common.
Because as your seasons evolve, like, look, I look back, all we used to do is party and gossip. But if you're not partying and gossiping no more, and you want to talk about building businesses and serving God, or you want to talk about purpose and passion, gifts and investing and real estate and travel, and you want to have some different conversations, all of a sudden, crickets.
Because they're not on that level. They don't understand. They're not on that level. They still want to party, still want to hang out, still want to do this, still want to do that.
And this is when they'll say, oh, she changed. She changed up. She thinks she's too good for us.
That part. She's bougie now. All that. It's interesting.
Okay,
but
Britt, you got anything left on friends? Because I want to talk about family for a second.
Let's go. So
in my decade plus, almost 15 years of coaching, I have personally witnessed and been the coach on the receiving end of so many stories of toxic family. Not just, so like, once again, guys, where there's grief over death, but there's also grief over having to distance yourself from people who don't love you or who are toxic, and you're grieving who you want them to be in your life, or who you expected them to be, or a mother should, or a father should, a brother should, a sister should. We're talking about our expectations of family members of being a certain thing, and then they're not that, and there's heartbreak.
Yes.
And it's real.
And because they're family, right? You kind of just hope that they'll show up for you the way that you show up for them. You just hope that because we are bonded by blood, you hope, right? I think that's why a lot of my friendships have become family, because there isn't that even through blood, there isn't that connection. Yes, it's like this is my family. And some of my friends are more than my family because those connections just aren't there. They just aren't. I gotta love you from a distance, right? I love you from a distance. You're my family. I love you, right?
Right.
But I
And
cannot.
the whole, I think one of the most difficult situations for those of you who are on now or who will catch this in replay is one of the things I've witnessed a lot, like in the last 3 to 5 years, is toxic mothers.
Yeah.
Now, Britt, I know you had a very close relationship with your mother,
Yeah.
and so did I. But that's not everybody's story.
That's right.
I have personally worked with a lot of clients and listened to a lot of people with and witnessed a lot of toxic mothers.
Yes.
And I think that it is one of those very quiet, kind of silent situations, because if your mother was abusive or your mother was toxic or your mother was unhealed, unhappy, bitter, or there's just all different forms of like abuse, emotional abuse, mental abuse, all kinds of stuff. I've just heard so many different things over the years that just blow your mind of how mothers treat their children. And I think that if that's the kind of mother you've had, there's also not a safe space to talk about it.
Right.
Because, we're innately taught to honor our parents, and it's, what do you do when the toxic, unhealthy person is your mother or father, and they're supposed to be parents, they're supposed to be loving you and supporting you, but yet you can't get that out of them.
Yes. And I love that you're bringing this up, Rebecca. I was very close to my mom. I love my mom. I know my mom loved me, but my mom was unhealed. And I did witness, and I did have to deal with a lot of the toxicity. I did. She was very manipulative. That's actually one of the hardest things for me to write in my book, was about our relationship, because it was so complex. There's so many different parts. It was like my mother would lift me up with her voice, that she was anointed woman, could sing, could tear down the church, and then in the same voice use it to manipulate me and make me feel like nothing, make me feel like I owed her everything. And it's very difficult, because when you have that religious background, you honor your mother and father all the time. You can't, it's like you can't go against that. That's law, right? When you have a religious background. And so I remember getting to a place where I told my mom no, and was like, no. I was 16 years old. I'll never forget it. And we were living out of our 1984 blue Buick at the time. And I remember I was working at Dairy Queen, and it was my second check. And my mom had addiction issues. She had addiction with gambling, also, alcoholism. And she asked for my second check. And I was working at Dairy Queen, y'all. I was 16 years old. And she said, well, I need your check. And I said, no. My 16-year-old self told my mom, no. I worked hard for this money. I deserve to spend this money on me. And I know we're homeless, and I know we're in this car, but no. And guess what she did, y'all? She kicked me out of a car. Kicked me out of her car. Yes, not a home, her car. And that was when I ended up moving out on my own. But yes, that, listen, real, so hurtful. And I remember not talking to my mom for a long time. I was like, I cannot believe this, because I wanted something that I worked hard for, that I felt like.
And you knew she was going to blow it on alcohol or gamble it away.
I'm going to go to the casino ASAP with it. ASAP.
Right. And you got living in a car, but she's going to go blow your check on the very things that got you guys homeless.
Yes. Yes.
Oh. And I think that part of grief, if we talk about heartbreak and grief, like I said, we're giving some different definitions of heartbreak and grief tonight, guys, because we want you to identify yourself. We want you to be able to self-identify to recognize the signs of grief and heartbreak, because typically our definition of grief is death.
Yeah.
You know, our definition of heartbreak is just like breakups and divorce, you know. But there are so many different forms of grief and heartbreak. And as Britney is sharing, it is when we got a dog outside that's going crazy. Yeah. Is when the people we love are not who we expect them to be.
Right.
And they don't hold up their end of the bargain.
Yeah.
Of what we consider to be just basic expectations.
Right.
In a healthy, normal relationship.
Yeah.
Somebody just said, she's so blessed. My mother would cook us out for leaving dishes in the sink. I can definitely relate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I as some of you know, I've shared that last year I found out that my dad was molesting my sister. And in that revelation, I then began the piecing the parts of because my family's all passed away, they're all dead, but so nobody's alive to talk to about this stuff, right? And then I'm piecing together the timelines of things, piecing together the things that never made sense, right? Like,
yeah.
Oh, now wait a minute.
Yep.
And my mom knew that my dad was molesting my sister. And I had always tended to put my mom on a pedestal. My dad was very much like a narcissist. He was the villain, you know, in the story. But my mom was the savior, the angel, you know, that was holding the glue together. She was the glue that held the family together, the hardworking, loving, fun, amazing woman. And I had to late last year, earlier this year, I went through a grieving process of having to really just own my mother's flaws and her pain and her, like, oh my God, I've been in too many situations where I've looked and said I couldn't understand women that allowed men to do things to their children, and I couldn't understand, you know, just the warrior in me, the protector in me, especially over kids, you know, it just, as I looked at my mom, like, so none of the shit he put you through and then molesting your daughter, none of it was ever enough to leave this man.
Yeah.
And then as that processes, right, my therapist, psychologist brain, reverse engineering, what kind of broken, hurt woman makes these kind of decisions and tolerates this from someone being so manipulated and emotionally abused herself by my dad, and it just is like, there's a grief. So now it's like, I wasn't grieving just that they're, you know, I've been grieving for years that they died, but grieving the loss of who you thought someone was.
Yeah.
The grief of your perceptions.
Yep.
That get bashed.
Oh yeah.
When truth of situations get revealed.
Right. Yeah. That's huge. That's huge, Rebecca. Huge. I've also had to do the same about my mom. Also, just you didn't have, you had what you had and you gave me what you had. And that's it. And there was a lot of healing that needed to happen. And I think about that every chance that I get a chance to do more healing, because my healing is what is going to help my daughter. And I just think about that over and over again. It's like, I'm healing not only for me, but I'm healing for Lyric too. And I'm healing for kids that come along and anybody else in my family. That
collective consciousness.
Yeah.
As a collective, we do our part to help everyone heal when we work on ourselves. To heal. Britt, one of the other things that just crossed my mind is that if we don't heal, okay, I have a half sister that I haven't spoken to or seen since I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
So we're going on almost 30 years that I have not seen her or spoke to her. And she's not someone that was healthy, was not able to love me she's a big sister. She's older than me, like not able to be a big sister after my sister died, not able, just not in the capacity to be a healthy, in my early 20s, there was a situation and I finally looked at it for what it was. And I said, she can't love me the way I love her. And I'm going to continually keep getting hurt in this relationship because I'm looking for something from her that she can't get. And when I stop and I think about my own healing work and the necessity of healing work, guys, because see, if we don't heal, we will be subconsciously looking for things or trying to run back into things that are unhealthy or accepting less than God's best for our lives out of some unfilled void that we're trying to fill.
Oh, yeah.
Right? If I had not done the healing work through the death of every family member and my issues and my divorce and just everything I'd gone through, that would have had me looking for her.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Looking for, I do have a sister. I'm not alone. Let me go find her. I do have some family somewhere. Let me go look. No. And we don't realize it, but we'll be motivated subconsciously by the pain and the wounds if we don't heal them, which is how we end up in toxic romantic relationships, how we tolerate toxic friends, how we'll stay in low-level jobs and be accepting less than our worth in situations. We don't realize that pain and grief is sitting there undermining so much of our best intentions and our best efforts.
Right. Yeah. You got to heal to move forward. You have to. There's no other way. There's no other way. There's no cheat code. It's doing the work. It's healing. Or else you will continue to manifest that hurt and that pain.
Again.
Whatever situation and whatever field you're in and whatever you're talking about, career, love, family, it's a continual cycle of hurt and pain.
Exactly. Okay, Brittany, any last words before we hop off of here? We're looking forward to our heartbreak through the holidays, healing heartbreak through the holidays, guys. Make sure you click the link in my bio. Make sure you go follow Brittany.
Yes.
We kick off November 6th, and we want to make sure you're in there with us. There's a coupon in the link. Make sure you join us inside. It's not just a course, it's also a support group.
Yes.
So ready to head through the holidays. Those of you who know that you've got grief, heartbreak issues that we're touching on like tonight, make sure you grab your spot in there with us. We'll be back next Monday for another live to talk about different forms of grief and heartbreak as we're leading up to the start of class. Brittany, any last words before
look, join the class, y'all. You are going to really love it. We have so many different nuggets for you, so many different techniques, so many different tools. Join the class. It's going to be amazing. I promise.
It's going to be great. Brittany, love you. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And we'll see you next Monday at 7 p.m. for another discussion and conversation about grief and heartbreak. Mwah. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.